Hello, we've been out for a couple months, but it's springtime, the weather is getting nicer. There's still some snow, but we want to move forward, so let's install some Arroyo drains. So we've been gone for about a month and a half, and today we're going to start to try working. So the first thing we're going to do is try to remove the snow. We're going to have a free week of snow, so we'll try to get some work done. So that's our purpose today, remove snow.
Shoveling snow, but we were able to clear the carport. So we decided to take the risk because we're going to have about 3 or 4 days of very warm weather. So we know that we'll have at least 2 weekends where we can work in a row. We're going to get more snow later on, but this is the most difficult spot because since it's so low, everything gets down there. So we're trying to get off the ground. That's our biggest goal right now. So that's why we wanted to give priority to that area. And we also added some salt to melt the ice that was at the bottom.
So there we go again. We begin our work on installing the Arroyo drain. Yes. I was actually thinking of the drainage mat, but yeah, the Arroyo. As you can see, we're totally full of snow. I know we could probably wait just like episode 2, but this time around we want to be ready for whenever the excavator is ready. So let's do this. So there's our stash of Arroyo drains. As you can see, they have almost a foot of snow above and maybe more below. So the first step in taking care of the Arroyo drain will be to open it and expand it. Okay, so there it is. The first roll of Arroyo drain opened up, 50 foot long. So the reason we're doing this is to allow it enough time to get used to being open, because since it's been closed for a couple of months, it just wants to crawl back in. We also open it up this way so that we can clean the surface, because as you can see, it's kind of cold and we're a little afraid of the adhesives. So we might go a nuclear approach when it comes to that. We'll check that out in a little while.
So first things first, let's discuss the purpose of a drainage mat. What we're trying to do is protect our foundation walls from water. So the idea is that we're giving a free way for water to get all the way down to the wall, down to the bottom of the wall, then to the French drain, and eventually to daylight. So the drainage mat has 2 components. The first one is a dimple mat made out of plastic, and then it's covered by a layer of geotextile fabric. So what the dimple mat is going to offer is there is a way for water, a straight way to get all the way to the bottom of the wall. And what the geotextile is going to do is you have all the soil against it, but it's going to let water go through but not the soil, so this dimple mat is never going to get clogged.
Okay, so here we are getting ready to begin adhering some drainage mats onto the XPS insulation. So we actually have 3 challenges. The first challenge is that we're not following the PolyWall recommended adhesive. So what they do is they sell you a canister that's about $1,000. So that canister has some difficulties because you cannot ship it to some states for starters. Also, for the entire property we calculated we needed 2. And the problem with it is if we need more, we would need to add a whole unit of $1,000, or if we end up using only half of it, we ended up wasting half of it. So that's a lot of money to waste. The second challenge, as you've seen before, is the temperature. So today at least the temperature is pretty warm, and that will be 0 degrees Celsius, and that will be a low of minus 12 degrees Celsius, so below freezing temperatures. And then the final challenge is actually the Arroyo drain. Is made out of polypropylene, and I know I had mentioned HDPE before, completely wrong. Polypropylene is the material, and that's a difficult material for some adhesives. So what we've decided to do is to run some experiments on some different adhesives that we have available.
So this is what we have done. We have some pieces of Arroyo drain that we got yesterday. And first we began trying double-sided tapes, for which we had high hopes. This is the first one we tried. It's 3M VHB
5952.
Yeah, we have it in 2 thicknesses, but it's exactly the same. And it didn't work at all. It's supposed to be very good, but probably not for this application. We also tried another one from Scotch. No, this one here. Oh. It's a Scotch Extreme mounting tape, and it did a little bit better. I still have the piece, but I can just remove it very easily. So the final tape we tried is this one from 3M. It's the mounting tape for indoors. We have used it in other applications. I had high hopes for it, but it just didn't work in this case. So then we said, okay, we need to find different solutions. And I had the idea of going with duct tape, and it works pretty well. I was going to do like these little loops that you can do from both sides. It works well, but it takes time.
Yeah, remember we need this Arroyo Drain to withstand high winds, like up to hurricane level winds. So.
Yeah, so thankfully we went to Lowe's and we found this tape right here. So it's duct tape, but it's double-sided and it sticks pretty well. I have removed this a couple of times, but it's very strong. But then this was the start of the game. So if I try to remove it, I still can do it because it's I just stuck this like really maybe an hour ago. But yeah, it works pretty well.
The start of the game that she didn't say is the 3M high strength 90, which is what you see right here.
That one right there.
And this actually spray applied. It is actually very similar to what PolyFlow sells. So who knows, maybe they are actually purchasing this from 3M, putting it into a canister and then selling it to you. Who knows, but it looks very similar and this does an extraordinarily good job.
Yeah, one thing we should mention on spray adhesives, there are very good ones, but they have temperature restrictions. So this is one of the few that seems to be working on high temperatures.
No, you mean low temperatures.
Low temperatures, that's what I meant. And here's a final mention. We have the Fuse-It from Fuse-It Max from Liquid Nails. This is the one we use to adhere the insulation to the concrete walls. We believe it's pretty good, but as Hector said, we have to withstand like very strong winds, and this one takes time to dry, like at least to become really strong. So we are not extremely confident about it.
We used it for the XPS installation, and after using it there, we didn't gain super high confidence because at some points in time we were able to actually literally peel it, and so we decided to look for something better. So as you can see, that will be the winner.
Yep. So wish us luck. Let me show you how I detail the edges of the drainage mat. So the instruction state, you should have maybe 1.5 to 2 inches of geotextile fabric, and then you just fold it over like that, and this is going to protect the edge from any soil getting in and clogging the mat. Now the problem with this is that this doesn't stay in place. We tried with duct tape, it doesn't stick very well, it takes a lot of time. So Marcela's pro tip is use spray adhesive. You just put a small layer like that. You fold it over, and that's going to keep it in place. Hector says I go crazy with the adhesive, but here's another Marcela's tip. So you have the overlap of the geotextile, and there's a risk that when they fill the hole, maybe there's a stone or something that's going to lift it. So with your spray adhesive, you just do a little bit like that, a little bit like that, roll it, and it's going to stay in place. Pro tip for life, read the instructions, but if you don't want to do so for Arroyo, I'll give you a quick rundown. First of all, you always use protection. You can see maybe I have glue in there, and gloves. Then, bottom of the Arroyo Drain, fold the geotextile fabric so it goes behind the wall. When you have 2 layers of Arroyo, the upper geotextile should overlap with the bottom one. Marcela's tip, use adhesive. And then whenever you have a joint, you need to use 3-inch duct tape. Marcela's tip, adhesive, then duct tape. Inside corners, you don't cut the Arroyo, you just fold it over, and then you apply duct tape on top. Marcela's tip, adhesive, duct tape. Outside corners, PolyFlow instructions. Cut the dimple mat, but do not cut the geotextile fabric. Install it to the wall, put duct tape behind it, fold it, and go on. I don't like it. So, Hector's and Marcela's version. Cut the whole thing, dimple mat and geotextile fabric. And then from one of the sides, cut enough dimple mat so you end up with a big flap like this one. Okay. Next step, install the dimple mat, open the flap, and attach duct tape, adhesive, then duct tape so the dimple mat is attached to the concrete wall. Next step, install the other Arroyo Drain on the other side, and then when it gets here, adhesive, duct tape. And once you have that, then open the flap, adhesive like crazy, fold it, and then more adhesive and duct tape. You're all set. Final step, top of wall. Remember geotextile behind the dimple mat, then adhesive, then duct tape. Don't forget, never ever ever cover this with duct tape. That is because we're trying to get the water behind the wall and letting it go out.
Our gamble during the warm week paid off. As you can see, we were able to install all the lower level arroyo drains, and we don't really care anymore if it snows or not because we're above ground now. So today I'm on vacation. It's supposed to be a pretty warm day, but it's actually a little bit windy today. My goal is to install one of the last 2 remaining arroyo drains at the ground level. But first I need to create a path here for myself and clear the snow back here. Then apply the arroyo drain to the wall, and hopefully we'll be good to finish this weekend. So let's keep our fingers crossed. So we weren't very sure how well the arroyo drain would stick to the insulation or the butane, so we decided to throw the kitchen sink at it. So the first step we do is we apply a double-sided duct tape. Then we do liquid nails that you've seen before, and then we also apply 3M spray adhesive. So the purpose of the double-sided duct tape is to help us hold it in place while the other 2 adhesives cure, because the other 2 adhesives will be much stronger. So let's jump onto a quick time lapse, and you'll see how it's done.
Without wearing a jacket. So we have given the green light to the excavator to come and fill what we call phase 1. That means covering up to ground level, which is actually like 6 inches below by code. And well, before he does that, we had a couple of things that we need to finish. We had joint sealer at 99.9%. So today we're going to finish the top of the walls now that the snow is gone. And we also had the French drains at 99.9%. We're doing that vertical connections that we were missing. And finally, we are opening the holes for the sleeves because after applying the Arroyo Drain for the waterproofing, we covered them. So that's what we're doing today.
Because we added exterior insulation and the Arroyo Drain, we now need to make holes for our sleeves. And because of the entire width of everything, it's difficult to drill through them. So we have all sorts of concoctions such as this extension bit to be able to get through the process. So let me show you how we do it, and hopefully you can get something out of it. I have now drilled a few sleeve holes through the insulation, and I think I have a technique that I can show you now. So the first step is to drill a tiny little hole as a pilot through the insulation and the Arroyo Drain. This extension is magnetic. So I found that it's a good idea to put duct tape between the bit and the extension. So the next step is to drill a little pilot hole through with a circular bit. But as you can see, this is not 4 inches, so it will not be able to go all the way through. So that means we're going to have it as a pilot. Another thing is our extension is like a quarter hex, and that means this is bigger. So we now need to add a converter that will receive sockets, and now we add a socket that accepts this bit. So now we have 4 items to make a circular hole. So our pilot hole is done, so let's go to the other side. Okay, so now I'm on the other side, and the first step is to actually find the hole. Then I will cut the geotextile only to open up, and I will fully cut the plastic Arroyo Drain. Okay, with the Arroyo cut, now I verified that it fits correctly. And it looks like it's gonna work. So at this point in time, I can actually make the hole. And because I'm on this side, I can actually use it without an extension, so that's why it makes life much easier. Okay, so now with the template taken care of, I'm going to be using a drill bit to just smash through the insulation and then punch it out. I will start from each corner going to the center. Let's clean it up now. Okay, so here's our final product. The concrete sleeve is a 6-inch, and then we will have in a 4-inch DWV coming out to the septic system.
We'll continue installing the Arroyo Drain on the top part of the house. We were going to wait for the excavator to fill the hole a little bit, but since the weather is so nice, the snow has melted, we can continue doing progress. We purchased our Arroyo Drains back in summer 2021 and we totally love them. And then around November 2021, we purchased 2 additional rolls which were supposed to be the same thing, but oh surprise, they changed the product somehow. It's not the same thing and we're totally disappointed about it. So here is the issue. So with the previous one, it was very easy to separate the geotextile fabric from the dimple mat, which is pretty important because every time you cut it, you're supposed to have some geotextile fabric to fold it over. And with this product, we just couldn't do it. I actually tried to use scissors to do some leverage and separate the geotextile from the dimple mat. I broke the scissors and the dimple mat broke. So Polywall, if you watch this, please just fix your product. The previous one was really awesome. So we're finally done with the Arroyo Drain. It feels like we have been working on this forever. It's been actually 4 months. It's been the longest process.
We actually started working, I think, the first week of January. We worked for like 1 week, and that was it because like real winter got here, like the minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and then snow after snow after snow. So we ended up taking like a month break.
Yeah, we went skiing instead, which was much more fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Drain. Yeah, so I would say actual work, it was about 16 days. But even then, we spent maybe 2 or 3 just removing snow, trying to get to the walls.
Yeah, so I guess some quick tips about what we've learned. So the first is you saw me drilling to make the insulation holes. Yeah, that worked okay, but it looks completely unprofessional. And so we highly recommend using the oscillating saw instead. It's much better than drilling and then cutting away. Less messy too.
For the insulation.
Yeah, for the insulation, and actually it cuts the Arroyo like butter too. So. And then one last thing I should mention about this drill. This drill is actually the one we got for the concrete. And this is like the top of the line high-end drill from DeWalt. We actually have a different drill from a kit that we bought with a bunch of tools. And that worked okay. The problem with that kit is you can tell when you drill the hole, it catches on and then it tries to spin on that torque move that tends to break people's wrists. While this drill doesn't seem to do that. There must be something inside of it that knows when that happens and it prevents it. Another thing is I should mention is this guy cuts through insulation like butter with the wheel cutters, while the out-of-the-box drill is like cutting through a chewy steak. So this high-end drill hugely makes a difference. I didn't expect it, but it does make a huge difference.
It's worth the extra price. You want to give the model number maybe?
Oh yeah, I want to give it full credit to it. So it's going to be the DCD999. So just in case you want to buy it later or something.
Yeah, and then another thing we're very proud of this process was our material utilization. So this is all we have left. It's about 5 or 6 feet of waste out of 700 feet of material. That was super cool.
And how we came up with that is we actually ended up putting it into Blender because we knew we were coming off a little bit wrong manually. So Blender told us we needed 14 rolls and we would get a little extra. And it was spot on pretty much. So
that's what we call our self-sufficient build.
Yeah, or that's why we like to call our self-sufficient build. That's what we hope to do in the future. We'll see if we actually make it happen. So this is actually a 99.3% material utilization with a 0.7% waste. So incredible. And so yeah, that's about all we have.
So we've given the green light to the excavator to come back and fill half of the hole. So we're waiting for that. It's going to be super exciting. And I guess that's it. Yeah.
So we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for liking and subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.